up, guys? Welcome back to the Forgotten Jesus podcast. My name's Andrew Bolton. With me, of course, is Candy and Robbie Gallaty. Pastor, today we're getting into the genealogy of Matthew.
Yes. Finally.
But before we do that, can we mention Candy's shirt? Look at this.
Yeah. Candy's got the I surved light up the pike shirt. If
So
you're
I
watching.
heard all day yesterday at church, I was hearing, oh, this is like my favorite shirt from a gas station. And I think it's the best shirt we've ever done.
I think it is. I think, and the way it feels is amazing too.
It does feel
I think you're saying all this because nobody has access to get one of these. This is going to be like a unicorn.
Yes.
Because they're already done. You can't buy it anymore.
You won't find this one at Goodwill.
You find it on eBay, though. Yeah. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Light Up the Pike, what turned out to be Heat Up the Pike when we started because it was like 99 degrees on a blacktop. And then it turned into Run for Your Life on the Pike as the lightning storm came, and we had the greatest fireworks show we've ever had in the history.
We did, except for all of our media equipment was literally floating away.
Yeah, that's
But it was rental, so. All right, moving on.
Hopefully we had insurance. Okay.
Genealogy.
Yeah, we're into Matthew. Let's give a couple recaps so we know where we've been.
Thank you.
Okay. Matthew has 3 themes, just to remember. Do you remember the 3 themes he's trying to prove?
Jesus is the new Moses.
Okay. Candy?
Oh, gosh. Listen, I've been on summer break, so I'm a little...
she's coming back from summer.
It's September. What are you talking about?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so the kingdom of heaven?
That is a theme through all of them. It's Andrew, go for 2 for 2.
I'm one and done, Pastor.
Okay, what did you say? Jesus is the new
Moses.
Jesus is the son of?
David.
And Jesus is God in the flesh, God with us.
Okay.
Emmanuel. We talked about Matthew having these themes that he's writing about. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'll just recap. I believe Matthew could have been the first gospel. A lot of people think Mark was, they think it's because he's the shortest, but he's not short in length, he's short in accounts.
Right.
I believe Matthew's the first gospel because, one, Matthew's talking about all of the issues of the Jewish community as it pertains to the law and how to live out the law, which predominantly the ministry of Christ was Jewish at the beginning. Remember?
First to the Jews,
then to the Gentiles, right. Also, we have an insight from Eusebius, the early church father, who actually in the first century says that he believed Matthew was written in Hebrew because of the idioms in the text, or the colloquialisms, or the slang sayings, if you will, like y'all and, French Quarter if you're in New Orleans, or going to make groceries if you're going to go to the
I need to go to the grocery store.
Okay. But let's get into Matthew's genealogy. The question we begin with is this. Why begin with a genealogy, Andrew?
Okay, so it's not Matthew's genealogy. It's the genealogy of Jesus in Matthew.
Correct. Yeah, yes, but you're Matthew writing for a theme. New Moses, son of David, God with us.
I'm writing to the Jewish audience.
Okay.
So the genealogy needs to prove that Jesus is from the line of David.
One of them.
Prove something.
It's got to prove something.
Right. Jesus
is this. You remember, there were potentially 12 so-called messiahs, 100 years before, 100 years after Jesus, figures who claimed to be the Messiah, who were just these guys out there. But the Bible was specific. The Messiah should come through this lineage. The Messiah should have these qualities. So Matthew is giving Jesus a platform to stand on right out the gate. Now, Matthew and Luke have 2 different books, but they both have genealogies.
Right.
Out of the 4 Gospels, Mark and John, no genealogies.
Right.
Matthew and Luke do. Luke doesn't give his genealogy till what chapter? Do you know?
No idea.
Hold on.
Not chapter 1 like Matthew.
Oh, 2.
2.
Close.
3.
3. Luke gives 3. Okay. Now let's begin with the genealogy.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Okay, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am. One of those genealogies, are they from like Mary's side and one from Joseph's side? Or am I misremembering something?
No, you're getting ahead of us, but that's good.
I'm learning something,
well,
y'all.
I have a question.
That's good, actually. Okay.
So
no, that's right, though. Mary is Luke.
Okay.
Matthew talks from the perspective of Joseph.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
So you said there were 12 Messiah-like figures that kind of came along the scene around Jesus?
Yeah. Have we talked about this on the podcast?
I believe so.
I think we have.
Have we talked about
so-called messiahs?
When the men ran naked?
We have not talked about the men ran naked in a while. So here we go again. Yeah. They're done.
So, okay, but my point is people come on the scene and they say that they're the Messiah.
Right.
But what are they basing that on? Because like with Jesus, we're obviously going to see through genealogy, but we also know the messianic miracles that he did that was believed that the Messiah would do these things. So you have these people that come on and say, oh, I'm a Messiah or whatever. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Well, they had to have a couple characteristics and qualities. We'll get to those. One of which was be of the lineage of the house of David. Mm-hmm. So you had to have that to even claim. And a lot of these guys did.
But they weren't going to be able to do the miracles.
Well, some of them did perform miracles. You got to understand. Jesus was... You got to realize, this is another thing people don't realize. Jesus was not the only miracle worker of his day. Did you know this?
Wait, hold on a second. I'm thinking here.
Here we go.
Because
we're already starting.
This is going to make me a little mad.
No, don't get mad. Just listen. Don't get mad before
you listen. Do I need to
listen.
sit in between y'all?
No, not in here. But what I'm saying is nobody can be Jesus. So if somebody comes on the scene and they're trying to do a miracle, they're not really a miracle worker. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
I do. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do. And I will not disagree with you.
Let me just get you sitting down for a second.
Oh, my gosh.
Jesus is not on trial here. Okay. So we don't have, I hear what you're doing. I love it. You're trying to defend Jesus. He doesn't need to be defended.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, you can't come on the scene and say you're Jesus when you're not.
Well,
or that you're a Messiah because you're not.
Well, yes. Okay, but let me ask you a question. Did Moses perform miracles?
Yes.
Did Elijah perform miracles?
Yes.
Did Elisha perform? Yeah. So they're a guy. Hani the circle
But they're not saying that they're
was a guy
a Messiah either.
But they were a Messiah.
Moses
was a Messiah.
Messiah-like figure.
The Messiah.
You got to remember,
Deliverer.
There's a difference between the Messiah and a person who is a Messiah-like figure. David was called the Messiah in a sense because he was a Messiah-like figure. Quote, the word Mashiach, Yeshua, Jesus, HaMashiach, doesn't mean the Messiah one. It means HaMashiach, Messiah means anointed one. It just means the hand of God. The anointing of God is upon you. A king had a Messiah-like figure. A priest could be a Messiah-like because they were anointed. Okay, so what I'm saying here is Jesus is one among many people at that time. Look at it historically, who rises up and they say he's the Messiah. Jesus never early on says he's God or the Messiah. Right. He does it toward the end of his ministry, but he never rises and
say it because he's going to prove it.
Yeah, well, he's going to prove it, right? Exactly. But how do you say this Messiah is the Messiah, and all these so-called Messiahs are not? Well, right away, Matthew and Luke are going to plant him as a real man in history, part of a lineage. Okay, now, let me just tell you one thing about genealogy so we don't miss it, okay?
Okay.
Genealogies were not uncommon in the Jewish nation or the Jewish culture. In fact, the Bible is filled with genealogies.
Right.
Where is the first, pop quiz, you want your Bible for this, where's the first genealogy found in the Bible? If you're listening, you can follow along with this and answer out loud.
Would it be, you're talking about anywhere in the Bible?
Anywhere in the Bible. Where's the first genealogy?
Well, it's going to be in the Old Testament.
It's going to be in the Old Testament. What book?
It's all the begat this, begat that.
Yes, which just means the son of or birth, yeah. Okay, which one? Genesis chapter what, Andrew?
I think it's 5.
Genesis chapter 5. Ding, 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 ding.
Nice.
ChatGPT for the win.
Oh, my God.
Here it is, right here.
Guy here.
I even have the, I'm just using the tools I have.
Okay, Genesis.
The tools in the tool belt.
Somebody's going to email us about that. Okay, Genesis.
They can email us at robbie.galvin.
Okay, what is the second genealogy in the Bible? The first one is Genesis 5, and we know a man named Enoch. He walked with God. Genesis chapter 10, we have the second genealogy.
Yeah. Yes.
Genesis chapter 11, verses 10, 27, and 32. We have the third genealogy. So the Bible is filled with genealogies. But the key genealogy I want you to see is the genealogy of Moses.
Okay.
Go to Exodus chapter 6, verse 14. Exodus chapter 6, verse 14 is the genealogy of Moses. And it's interesting because Moses begins somewhat of a ministry before Exodus 6. But the ministry doesn't really take off until after the genealogy is given. I want you to notice this. So look at Exodus chapter 6. And you'll notice this genealogy. These are the heads of the what? Candy, you can just read it for context.
The heads of their fathers' families.
Yep.
The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanak and Palu, Hezron and Carmi. These are the clans of Reuben. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Yakin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. These are the clans of Simeon.
Okay, we go. It just keeps going on and on and on. And so this is the lineage of the family of Moses, okay, and Aaron, the high priest. Now, go to the next chapter, Exodus chapter 7. So we have Moses being firmly planted as a figure in the history of Israel. Then what we have is the very next thing, Moses is about to start his what?
His public ministry.
Public ministry. Watch this. And the first miracle, quote, first plague, you call it miracle because anything supernatural, miraculous. The first miracle that Moses is going to perform to prove that he is who God calls him to be.
Can I guess?
Take a guess.
Turning the water into blood.
Water into blood.
And do you know the significance of that?
No.
What?
Andrew, listen,
I got excited right now.
He's got 2.5 years in the D group.
Well,
with me.
Jesus is-
He's finally listening.
You're getting it.
Finally, I've been listening the whole time.
You do listen and take notes. You're one of the better D group guys.
I am.
You're one of the best in the group. But anyway.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
are we talking about,
Okay.
he said the
Okay,
significance.
watch this if you're listening.
Wait.
Okay,
Is it because Jesus turns water into wine?
Yes.
bingo.
Yes.
Now watch this.
Ding, ding,
Now
ding,
watch this. They're trying to prove Jesus is the new Moses. Why? Because Moses was a Messiah-like figure, meaning Messiah is an anointed one, a savior. He's going to redeem. What did Moses do? He redeemed him from the bondage of the slavery of Egypt. Jesus, like Moses, is going to come and redeem the people, not from the bondage of slavery, from the bondage of sin once and for all. And isn't it interesting that the very first miracle, and Andrew, you could show your Gospel Parallels book to those who are
I brought this
interested.
because people have been asking online what is a good resource for studying this.
This, if you want to follow along with us, you can
hey, let's drop a link of this in the show notes.
Yeah,
so people can.
It's Throckmorton is, no, you can hold it up. Burton Throckmorton.
You memorized it?
No, but I have gone through it a lot. I learned this from Dwight Pryor, turned me on to this. But Throckmorton, I find, is better than the A.T. Robertson and other Gospel Parallels, because he actually puts them all together and he has the Hebrew connection. So I think I like it a little better. But you'll notice every single one of them in the chronology of Jesus say, every one of them, everybody, that the first miracle was turning the water into wine. And it's way bigger than Jesus just going to a wedding and bailing out a friend or family member who's in trouble. Jesus is putting his spiritual marker down in the ground and saying, you guys know the Old Testament story. You know Moses' background. You know how the story of God begins. He turned water into blood, which was clear to red. I'm going to turn water into wine, which is clear to red. And he's showing them way bigger than just a marriage ceremony. He's showing them he's the Messiah to come. He's the man they've been waiting for.
So, side note, just thinking about this, but what if, I wonder how that miracle, Jesus turning the water into wine, would have come about if Mary had not gone to him and said, hey, they're out of the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just find it interesting that God used Mary to go to him and say, hey, this.
Mother.
But yeah, because if not, you know what I mean? Like, would Jesus have just said, well, I know you're out of wine, so let me go ahead and, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
So
I just
the
find
bigger
it
question
interesting.
is, since he's God, did he work in the heart of Mary to move her to come ask him to turn the water into wine? Sovereignty, right? Who knows?
Yeah. I think what's cool
we do
is...
not who knows. We do know. God, before the foundation of the world, moved the heart of Mary on that day.
Yeah.
Not remember, there are no accidents in the economy of God. There are no accidents in the genealogy of Christ. Everything's there for a reason. We're going to learn that in a moment. The oddities of the text are where the nuggets are buried. Say that again. The things of the text, and I learned this line, this idea. I knew it, but formalize it from Marty Solomon, our friend Marty Solomon at the Bema podcast. The oddities, the things that are obscure, the things in the text that are odd or don't make sense, that's where the nugget is.
Right.
We look over why are there four women, Gentile, outcast in the genealogy of the holiest man to ever live. That's where the nuggets are.
Yeah.
Why is Matthew in a moment making such a point to show that Jesus is not of Joseph? He's just his surrogate. He's just his stepfather. He has nothing to do with Joseph. Mary's his mom. Why does he do that? That's the nugget.
Right.
Okay. So the genealogy is putting Jesus as a real figure in a real time period, a real man in a real country with real people.
I think what's neat is for you and I read, and for you guys watching or listening to this, we read this, we hear this connection. It's like a light bulb. Like, oh man, that's awesome. For them, it's not a hidden nugget. It's a billboard. Like they see Jesus turn water into wine, and they instantly think of Moses.
Well, that's really good. For yes,
Good.
The nuggets that are the light bulbs going off in our head were just commonplace to them. They knew those things.
Yeah.
They knew those things. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. So Matthew begins with the genealogy. Now, right out the gate, Candy, I want you to read right out the gate, Andrew. We're going to read this slow. For those who want to get through this genealogy, we'll be here a couple weeks.
Oh, wait, we're
Maybe
going back.
a month.
Matthew,
Yeah.
But that's okay because there are nuggets upon nuggets in this thing.
you know, I had to buy readers for the first time last night.
Wow.
Where are they?
You know, if you actually
They
read
have
with
not come in.
you know, if you read with a large print Bible, you don't need.
Is this large
You
print
can
underneath
zoom
here?
your phone in also. Like most older
True.
people
No,
have
I
like
can-
really big font.
You know, make.
I can
I
read
like-
it,
Yeah,
but
you cannot. Yeah, that is actually way too small, by the way. Keep going, but
Mine?
let's read. Yes.
it's just the method of quickness.
That's
When
like
you say
eight-
turn
that's like
here,
an
turn
eight-
there, read
It's
this,
like an
read
8
that.
font. You need like a 15 or
I can
16.
pull it
All
up.
right,
Okay, what do you want
here we
me
go.
to read?
I want you to read Matthew 1:1. Just read Matthew 1:1. And we're not even going to get past the first verse.
Okay. An account of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham.
Okay, so you're already you got your lenses on, your Hebraic lenses on, and you're an investigator when you're reading the Bible slowly. Remember, we're not reading, and we talked about this before, but it's good to rehash this. The Jewish culture did not read the Bible for information to pass a test.
Right.
They read the Bible for intimacy with a person.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
If you get nothing else from this podcast and take that to the grave,
Yeah.
that'll be enough. I promise you.
I mean, that's for us as well.
Oh, yeah, for all of us.
100%.
That changed my Bible reading because for years I was trying to box check to get a curriculum plan done so
For
I
sure.
could tell people I finished the Bible in a year. No offense to finishing the Bible in the year.
Which,
But the point of reading the Bible is not for you to read the Bible. The point of reading the Bible is
Right.
for the Bible to read you.
yeah.
Hold on. I have to process that for
I know
a second.
The
Meaning
Bible
it's-
reads you. James said the Bible
Right. Oh,
is
yeah.
a mirror.
Yeah.
No one holds a mirror up to his or her face and then sees, okay, man, I got sin in my, that hair's
Right,
out
right,
of
right.
place, man. And then walks away and does nothing about it. No, the Bible has to read your mail.
Well, when you think about when the Bible talks about itself being a sword, it is a double-edged sword.
Piercing even to the division of sword
Sword,
and
yeah.
spirit,
That's right.
joint and
So it
marrow.
doesn't just cut
Yeah.
forward; it cuts backwards as well.
Ooh, that's good. Yes, double-sided.
You can use that. You can use that in a sermon.
Little
Yeah.
brother, you are on it today.
I know. You're on
What
fire.
happened to you?
The Bible's been reading me.
It's the new background. No, it's the it's
No,
the new
listen.
sign. We didn't even
No,
point
listen,
out our new sign you
Episode
worked
5.
on.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you've noticed our background has changed every time.
Yeah.
We've had some issues there.
We've had some sign issues with the
We're
company,
good to
but
go
they
now.
did make it right.
They made it right.
They made it
I
right.
But
love
they
it.
made it right. It's a brand new company.
We had 2 issues with the previous
Obviously.
sign.
Now, wait, I will say this, just one little side note here.
Okay.
Yes, I 100% agree with everything you're saying, but I do believe if you've never read the Bible in its entirety as a Christian, you should do that. Doesn't have to be in a year.
No, I'm not saying you shouldn't read
No,
the
I
Bible.
know. I'm just saying, just a little encouragement out there.
At least through one time.
Because
Well,
here's
okay,
the
but
thing:
I think-
if
oh,
you, if you,
Yes, ma'am. I will not argue.
if
with you.
you,
No, you can
no,
okay,
I'm
Laura.
not. I'm just saying, if you stand before Jesus Christ one day, right?
Yeah.
We die. We're standing there with Him, and as a believer, like we've never ever in all our years read through the entire Bible.
Yeah.
I
It'd
would
probably
be a
be
little
something good to do-
bummed,
be
you
something
know,
good to
like
do.
golly. You don't have to do it every year. You don't have to rush through it. But at some point in our journey as a believer, we should attempt to do that.
And some people
however
will
long
say,
it takes you.
yeah, so then the pushback would be, well, I'm going to be in heaven with Jesus. I don't need to, I'll know everything. I won't need to know the Bible. Dallas Willard used to say
Will
this.
we know everything? Like, we're going to be with him and there's no pain and there's all that, but will we know everything?
I don't think I'll care. Like, I don't think I'm going to, all the questions I have right now, I don't think I'll be worried about.
Well, here's what Dallas Willard said about this. He said, what is the Christian life? You know, he's a philosopher, Willard. He said, what is the Christian life? Why read the Bible as a Christian? Why pray? Why memorize Scripture? Why go to church? Why worship? Here's what he said. The Christian life is training for reigning.
Okay.
The Christian life is training today.
Not this kind of rain.
Not rainfall, but REI. Reigning tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah,
Meaning,
baby.
See, we forget this. We forget that God is watching the way we live today to determine if he can trust us today with the little things we have in order to entrust us tomorrow with authority and dominion and control in heaven. You got to remember, heaven is about systems and principles and rulership and dominion in heaven. Right. And so what are you doing, Andrew?
Well, I'm just saying, I think we also forget, I'm holding up a book that you wrote, Pastor, that God has something for us here and now. It's not just about eternity one day.
Yes.
God has something for us today, right now. And I know that the more time I personally spend in the Word, not just checking out off the boxes, but intimately spending time with Jesus, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm a better friend. Don't struggle with, anxiety as much. You name it. God has something for you here and now through spending time in the Word as well.
Yeah, here now is
And you can find this book on Amazon.
Well, in my mind, when I wrote that book, I thought I wrote a groundbreaking book.
Yeah, and everybody hates it.
It was the
why
best
do they hate this book
that no one's read. Here and now. But the point of that book is, how do you live in the kingdom of heaven today? Yeah. See, we're so consumed with trying to get out of earth, ejected into heaven today or tomorrow, when God's trying to bring heaven on earth through us today as we obey him. Okay, so back to where we are. Why? Okay, so these are all good questions, but why does Matthew begin with this line? Jesus Christ, the son of Abraham, or the son of David, the son of Abraham.
I mean, it has
what
to be.
What is the oddity? That's the point I'm making. What is odd about this that causes us to pause, or what is missing in our mind? You would think to find another name there. Moses. Why? If he's trying to prove.
But Moses, is Moses in the genealogy? Is that a dumb question? Like, is Moses in the genealogy, or is he just another?
I don't think so.
Separate genealogy.
No, that is a good question. That's a great question. And the answer is I don't know. But the point is,
well, no, he was a Levite, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. But the point I'm trying to make is, you would think he would try to include Moses because Moses is the deliverer. Moses is the person he's trying to prove.
But if he's not in the family, it has nothing to do with the genealogy.
Well,
like you got Robbie, son of Bob, son of Robert the First.
But the point we're going to make in just a moment, I don't want to give the next week away, but we're going to show you how the reason Matthew, I'll just give you the punchline. The reason Matthew gives the genealogy of Joseph is because there is an elephant in the room for the people in the first century. There's an elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is they know, and I'm not going to give you the answer. You can go study it. But they know that Joseph is disqualified from being the person Jesus can be the son of. They know that. Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, is not qualified to be the descendant of the King of David through the line of the Messiah. Did you know this? We'll get to that later. But so what I'm saying is, yes, he uses Joseph, but you think he could have started with, this is about Moses. But the reason is, you're right. Number one, he's not of the lineage. But number two is, you remember this. Their father, they wouldn't say their father was Moses. They would say their father was who?
Abraham.
Remember in John 8, Jesus is arguing, debating with them, and they say, no, our father is who? Abraham. So they're saying that's who our father is. Now, they know that because God promised Abraham three things. You remember this? He promised him three things. One, he promised him that the seed or his seed would produce the nation, right? So God says, I'm going to give you the seed, or your descendants will bring the Messiah. So that's number one. Number two is he has a second one. What was the second one?
Knew the descendants.
Land. So he gives a people. Then he gives the land.
Okay.
He said, I'm going to give you a land, and I'm going to give, so he gives a people, the offspring, give you a land, and then I'm going to give you a person, Jesus, the Messiah.
People, property, and person.
Ooh, I like that. People, property, and person. Okay. So to Abraham, he gave people, property, and person. Use your idea. I like that. But to David, he gave what? He made a promise to David. Kingship. So through the Messiah, your descendants will rule and they will reign. So right away we see David and Abraham being the two pillars, if you will. Now we're going to get into the genealogy, okay?
And we're going to do that next episode.
Well, and I'll just say that, yeah, we'll do it next episode, but let me just tee it up. We talked about this before. The genealogies are different in a number of ways. One of which is Matthew is going to give it from the perspective of Joseph. So everything you see is from Joseph's perspective. The timer is up.
The timer's up.
I didn't know we had a buzzer with
I didn't know we did either, and I wasn't sure what that was.
Wow. The buzzer on the timer. Golly, now they got me on a timer. So Jesus is of the lineage of Joseph, and so that's Matthew's perspective. Right. When we go to the Gospel of Luke, we're going to see it from the perspective of Mary. The differences are stark. Joseph hears about this supernatural birth from who? Or how? How does he hear about it?
Angel.
No.
Dream. Sorry.
A dream.
An angel in a dream.
But that's interesting too, because who in the Old Testament was a dreamer?
Joseph.
Hold on. I have this written in my Bible.
Joseph.
Man,
Joseph in the Old Testament, Jacob's son. All right. Mary is going to hear about the supernatural birth from who?
An angel.
An angel, God himself, a messenger, a messenger of God who's distributing the message. So that's how it happens. Okay. We'll talk about that next week as we continue.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Forgotten Jesus podcast. If you're not following along with us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. That's going to help us. And also, if you're not connected with us on social media, you can follow us at The Forgotten Jesus on Instagram. That's a great place to ask us questions, get connected. We'll post some behind-the-scenes stuff there as well. So you want to be sure to do that. So, Pastor, thank you. Candy, thank you. And we will see you on the next episode.